Thanks for tuning in to Retiring Well. We're going to be talking about the UnRetirement Plan. Sounds like the opposite of what you want to be doing, but want to be tuning into that. What about long-term care? How do you prepare? What are the costs? What does that look like? Defining success in retirement, that's going to be an interesting one. And then lastly, what is modern portfolio theory? Something as an investor you should be aware of. So all this and much more coming up right here, right now on Retiring Well.
Retiring Well, brought to you by Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning and serving all of Northern Michigan. Retiring Well, helping you plan for a successful and comfortable retirement. Retiring Well, plan to retire well.
Most people dream of retirement. They want to plan for what sort of travel are they going to do, how much time they're going to be able to spend with their family, the grandkids. You know, maybe it's going out golfing. There's just sort of a little bit of a lack of responsibility when you get to that stage of life, and it's exciting. I'm going to go the other direction and talk about the UnRetirement Plan. The reality of retirement is the bank account's no longer growing. Now you're starting to use that money for retirement, so you're seeing that shrink, which might be a little bit of an eye-opener. And retirement may bring, you know, a shrunken pool of potential social interactions. So some people may start to get bored, or maybe they have this lack of purpose that they may feel when it comes to retirement. There's a concept of unretirement where it's rising, and according to the Pew Research Center, 1 in 5 people over age 65 is employed, and almost double the employment of the same demographic 35 years ago. And according to a T. Rowe Price survey, approximately half are going back to work for the money. So that means there's the other half that's doing it for other reasons. So sadly, a majority of people go into retirement. They may not have a specific plan for their retirement. They're just simply winging it, which isn't the ideal route to go. You want to map out a consistent plan that you're going to follow as far as a budget and figuring out all of the finances. Along with that, we're seeing that people are living longer. In the past, people would maybe plan for, okay, what does retirement look like for the next 20 years? Well, now you might have to plan for 30 plus years depending on your life expectancy. And according to that same T. Rowe Price study, approximately half are rejoining the work environment for social or emotional benefits. And retirement may be the hardest psychological adjustment that people ever make. You figured you've been in that work environment maybe for 40, 50 plus years of your life. How do you just all of a sudden flip a switch and not go to that work and that mindset that you had? So here are the top 4 social and emotional reasons people flunk their retirement. 1 is the loss of identity. You know, they think of it as basically it's permanent unemployment. Number 2 is loss of structure. You know, you get into that daily routine, you know when you're going to work, what the next day brings, and it's drastically different when you get to retirement. Number 3, the social network. Depends on your work, but you may experience regular interaction with a variety of people. Number 4, potentially it's marital stress. Maybe your spouse isn't used to having you home all of that time, and so all of a sudden that might create some tension in the household. So how do you prepare yourself so that you don't flunk retirement? For the next 6 to 12 months, let's take a few minutes every morning and write down what you'd be doing if you were retired. So again, you're sitting there thinking, okay, let's imagine if I'm retired. What am I going to do today or maybe this upcoming week? And you start to go through that exercise. You know, have you considered volunteering? What about being a consultant? I've seen a number of clients of ours where they've retired from the career, but they still want to be actively involved. So then they're able to become a consultant in the industry that they worked. And so that gives them a little greater flexibility as to when they work. Yeah, the income's not going to be as high, but you're still going to have a lot of that social interaction as well as that concept of giving back. And financially, map out a long-term plan. If you don't have a financial advisor, if your advisor hasn't really sat down with you to map things out as to what your finances look like over the next 20, 30, 40 years, that's going to be important. So go through that exercise. And from a long-term plan, you know, it's really time to revisit that idea. You want to factor in what is inflation going to look like, and it's tough to predict a lot of this, along with potential tax changes, what's the market risk. So there's a lot of different variables, but it's something here at Centennial Wealth Advisory we offer a no-cost, no-obligation visit. We'd love to sit down with you to help you plan to retire well.
Every success story starts with a plan. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, we invite you to an informative live event to help you plan to retire well. Our presentation will address pressing questions such as, how will the presidential election impact my investments? What can I do to protect against inflation in retirement? Am I tax diversified? How can I maximize my Social Security benefits? Will my assets be properly protected when I pass away? And much more. Call 888-608-5825 or register online and choose the date and location that works best for you. The live event starts at 6:30 p.m. and is free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and tends to fill quickly. Call 888-608-5825 or register online to reserve your seats today. Don't miss this important live event to help you plan to retire well.
Everyone knows the BBB is the Better Business Bureau, but depending on what you need, it's the Better Plumber Bureau, the Better Auto Mechanic Bureau, the Better Accountant Bureau. That's because the BBB connects people with businesses they can trust. So think of the BBB as the better check that business out first so you don't get ripped off bureau. Be smart. Always look for the BBB seal because it's looking out for you. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
As you are planning for retirement, where's your journey taking you? Do you know where you are going? How are you going to get there? And what's the best route to take? Do you have a personal retirement roadmap? At Centennial Wealth Advisory, we specialize in retirement planning, and we have designed a complimentary retirement roadmap video series that can be customized based on your personal circumstance and preferences. There is no cost and no obligation. Simply go to cen-wealth.com/roadmap and provide us with some basic information that will guide you to your on-demand, customized retirement roadmap video. Planning is the first step to succeeding. Plan to retire well.
We all hear about long-term care and the rising costs and some of the pressure this can put on our retirement plans. I want to take a little bit different angle today and do more of a case study and look at a scenario and how this can actually impact a real life situation. So when we look at long-term care, what we're experiencing right now is something that's been coined the silver tsunami. What that is referring to is we have 10,000 people turning 65 every day. As we couple that with an aging population and longevity, we're starting to see the cost of long-term care rise pretty dramatically. Where if we think about cost today, in 20 years, just about going to double. Where whether you're in-home care, whether you're assisted living, we're going to be in the six figures. So how does this actually impact our retirement plans, and what can we do to start to prepare for that? So I built out a scenario just with a fake client, so this isn't real data. So we have John and Jane, both 65, both recently retired. They have combined $500,000 in their pre-tax 401ks, and they have about $50,000 in their checking and savings, and we'll assume we'll have a 5% growth rate on those investments, so relatively conservative investors. With that, they have Social Security benefits, about $4,500 a month, as well as a pension with a 100% survivor option. They did everything right, they have no debt, so that's great, no long-term care and no life insurance, and currently living at about $5,000 a month. So when we look at their retirement plan, their first 5 years is what we see on the top. Their income between Social Security and pensions is actually more than that expense number. So what's really nice for them is they're not needing to pull any money from those spendable assets on your far right. So those assets just continue to grow at that 5% growth rate over time. You fast forward now to their last 5 years of life, assuming longevity, and they're going to live to age 100. You can see their assets, for the most part, maintain themselves. We do start to see inflation catch up, where their expenses now are outpacing their fixed income between Social Security and their pension, and they're starting to pull a little bit out of those investment assets, as well as taking their RMDs. What you'll notice, though, is for the most part, they're fine from a retirement standpoint. So if we're meeting with clients and we have a situation like this is where we'd start to stress test that retirement plan and look at some of the risks out there. The big one being, of course, what if there's some sort of health event like a long-term care type scenario? So let's flip the scenario a little bit. So all of the data stays the same. But let's assume John goes into a long-term care stay at, say, age 80. Let's say he's going to live in that facility for 3 years. The current cost in Michigan for the long-term care facility is about $10,000 a month. We'll assume that's going to grow at 3% inflation. Now, everything stays the same for the first 5 years. Fixed income's really good, not needing their investment assets. But look what happens now where John gets to be age 80 and is in a long-term care facility. We just saw it's about $10,000 a month today. Well, when he'd be going to that facility at age 80, it's now going to be $17,000 a month. Again, we have that inflation piece behind the scenes. What you'll notice is they went from a scenario where they were fine for retirement, where now after John passes away, there's no money left. And this becomes a problem not necessarily just from a depletion of assets, but now what is Jane supposed to do? Her income's going to go down because they've lost that Social Security benefit, but now she has no assets to be able to pull from. So she may be in a situation where she has to sell the home, look at reverse mortgages, those types of things. So really the point of looking at this scenario is really starting the conversation, start thinking through some different talking points. So when you think about long-term care, who do you think needs a long-term care plan? I would argue everybody does. Long-term care plan doesn't necessarily mean you need to have long-term care insurance, but there needs to be a conversation along the way of where are we going to pull from our investments to supplement some sort of long-term care needs. I have conversations with clients where, an individual will have maybe a little bit more bravado and say, well, I'll just go out fishing and never come back. Okay, well, that's a fine plan. However, just as we just saw, well, if income goes down, expenses don't necessarily always go down as fast as income. Where is your surviving spouse going to pull from? We don't want to be selfish with our long-term care plan. We want to think about how do we plan for the whole family as well as our surviving spouses. Other scenarios that will come up is some clients will say, well, my spouse will just take care of me. Well, if you've never had the opportunity to be a caregiver, it's both physically and mentally difficult. Maybe that's not something your spouse wants to do. So how does that incorporate into that overall plan? Thinking about your parents, not necessarily just their health, but maybe they need to have some sort of care. Maybe you're going to be responsible for that. Is that going to impact your overall retirement assets? Biggest takeaway I want you to think about is long-term care can have a large impact on your retirement plan. You want to have sort of a family discussion around how you want to plan for that, and then work with your advisor to figure out how you structure your investments and your retirement plans based on your specific goals and wants.
Every success story starts with a plan. The success of your retirement depends on a solid financial plan. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, we invite you to an informative live event to help you plan to retire well. There is no cost and no obligation, and dinner is on us. We are Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial professionals, specializing in retirement planning and serving all of northern Michigan, with offices in Traverse City, Gaylord, Petoskey, and Cadillac. Our presentation will address pressing questions such as, how will the presidential election impact my investments? What can I do to protect against inflation in retirement? Am I tax diversified? How can I maximize my Social Security benefits? Will my assets be properly protected when I pass away? And much more. Call 888-608-5825 or register online and choose the date and location that works best for you. Tuesday, September 10th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City. Thursday, September 12th at Treetops Hunter's Grill in Gaylord. Tuesday, September 17th at Lakeside Charlie's in Cadillac. Tuesday, September 17th at JJ's Event Center in Alpena. Wednesday, September 18th at Perry Hotel in Petoskey. Or Thursday, September 19th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City. The live event starts at 6:30 p.m. and is free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and tends to fill quickly. Call 888-608-5825 or register online to reserve your seats today. Don't miss this important live event to help you plan to retire well. If you like watching Retiring Well, make sure to go to youtube.com/retiringwell and click the subscribe button to never miss any of our TV shows and other informative videos.
We think about it, we daydream about it, and some do a better job than others in planning for it. What am I describing? Well, it's your retirement, of course. Things people think about when they plan for retirement are, what age should I retire at? How much money do I need to have? And where will my income come from in retirement? These are all good questions, and your financial well-being is a key component of your retirement strategy. And I'm going to discuss your investments and how much that plays into your retirement journey as well today. But there are other key areas that lead to successful and fulfilling retirement. Some of these include not just your financial health, but your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, your sense of purpose in retirement, as well as learning to continue to challenge your brain, stretch that mental muscle in your retirement years as well. You might be asking yourself, why would a financial advisory firm talk about anything other than money? Well, we want you to have a successful and fulfilling retirement, and there's a lot more to it than just your finances. AARP published an article in 2022 that said over half, or 57%, of retired adults never thought about planning for their emotional health in retirement. It said nearly one half, or 46%, of retirees haven't considered planning for personal fulfillment in retirement. So obviously, again, like I mentioned earlier, finances are a big part of your retirement journey. A couple common questions we get from clients with regards to their investments is, how much is enough? And a really big one is, will I have enough in retirement? Questions we like to ask our clients, though, in our meetings are, what do you want the money to do in retirement? What are some priorities that you want to achieve in retirement? And specifically, what are your financial needs versus your financial wants? Obviously, when you hit your retirement age, you're going to be looking at, what are my expenses going to be in retirement? And what are my income sources in retirement? With regards to your income, this could be a pension plan through your employer, it could be rental properties, it could be income from your investments or bank accounts, or other sources of income you might have. With regard to your expenses, I mentioned a second ago the wants versus the needs. So with the needs, these are your food, water, shelter, some clothing. Those are your basic needs. You're going to need the money to cover those expenses just to survive in retirement. Now your wants, they might be something more along the lines of basic things still, like streaming services for your television or even cable TV, magazine subscriptions, things like that. Or they could be more luxurious wants. You could want to have a second home. Maybe you would want to spend the winters in Florida, buy a really nice luxurious boat. These are all wants, not necessarily things you would need to survive in your retirement. In addition, though, to the financial piece, as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of other things that factor into you having a successful and a fulfilling retirement. One is your physical health. Research shows that even those who become physically active and adopt a healthy diet late in life dramatically lower the risk of cardiovascular illness and have a lower death rate. So obviously the physical exercise, whether you're doing it now, it's not too late to start. And your physical health is very important in retirement, because what's the point of having the money in retirement to do things if you don't physically feel up to doing them? In addition to that, I mentioned earlier, your mental and your emotional well-being are very important to having a satisfying and enjoyable retirement. The National Poll on Healthy Aging has ran polls from 2018 through 2023 that have consistently shown that feeling isolated from others, feeling a lack of companionship, and having infrequent social contact were strongly associated with poor physical and mental health among older adults. And then the last two areas I want to touch on briefly with having a satisfying and fulfilling retirement is your sense of purpose and the importance to never stop learning. So the sense of purpose, you might find that from your hobbies, whether you like to garden or go golfing. For a lot of people though, it's more than that. They want to feel they're involved in their community or through their local church or with their grandkids, and that gives them more fulfillment and a sense of purpose in their retirement years. Here at Centennial Wealth, we believe you can have a retirement experience that is fulfilling and one in which you can thrive. We would like the opportunity to help you plan to retire well.
If you're retired or approaching retirement in the next 5 to 10 years, join us for an informative live event. This event is all about you, the challenges you face, and the information you need to help you build the future that you want. There's no pressure to become a client. Our goal is to simply give you valuable information that you can use to make smarter financial decisions. We hope that by the time you leave this event, you'll be one step closer to your retirement goals.
57% of employees say that finances are the top cause of stress in their lives. This is one of many findings from a PwC survey. Human resources managers and business owners, we will partner with you to help your employees. At Centennial Wealth Advisory, we focus on education and the health of the whole person. We offer a complimentary financial wellness workshop with food provided for your team. We all want our employees to be productive at work, but most importantly, we want them to flourish in every area of their life.
Make the most of Social Security. Although Social Security isn't designed to cover all of your income needs, it's an important part of the retirement puzzle. Download our free booklet on the Social Security decisions at cen-wealth.com and learn how to optimize Social Security for your situation, why timing is so important when it comes to your benefits, ways to supplement your Social Security, and more. There is no cost and no obligation. Simply go to cen-wealth.com, scroll down, and click the download link to get your free booklet on the Social Security decisions.
Your grandchildren are precious to you. They are your life. This is your time to have that special relationship. Taking care of yourself is taking care of them. Centennial Wealth Advisory is offering a free, no-obligation retirement review to make sure you don't run out of money during your retirement. Centennial Wealth Advisory. Your best is yet to come.
I want to talk about a term that if you were in finance school or accounting or some sort of mathematical things, you probably heard over the years, but if not, and that's okay, is modern portfolio theory. So it's a method that's taught back in finance school and even in certain levels of high school. I think they even discuss this here. And in theory, what they're talking about is it's examining the level of potential return based on a certain category of risk. So something can't be viewed just as a standalone item where it's starting to hone in and put things in certain risk categories and the potential for their return after that. So let me summarize that. It's the idea of I want to be the most efficient possible with my investing based on the level of risk I am. Let's say I had an investment and it had the chance to lose 20%, but I have the possibility of making 6. Okay? What if I had a similar investment, I had the chance of losing 30%, but still only had the chance of making 6? Well, it's not as efficient, right, as that original investment. I want to have the least amount of downside exposure, but I want to have the largest possible upside. We all want that, right? We'd love to have no potential downside, but a really high upside. But unfortunately, those options are very limited to far from few and far between, right? But again, so when we look at modern portfolio theory, why is this important to you? You may be asking, or how would this be important to you? Well, for a retiree, when you start looking at having distributions and money coming out of your accounts, you likely don't want to experience large losses during that time of distributions. Different from when you're working, as you're accumulating stuff and you're constantly adding money into your portfolio, when you have those dips in the market and you're adding contributions, you're in theory buying lower, right? So you're kind of dollar cost averaging, they call it, or again, still accumulating money. Now we're in this distribution phase, and if we start to sell so we can get money and then market is down, well, guess what? We're selling more shares to get the same amount of money, so it's having now the reverse effect. So with modern portfolio theory, as a retired investor, as somebody that wants to produce income, we want to have the most efficient portfolio as possible with the least amount of risk. So when we start examining a whole portfolio, again, looking at modern portfolio theory, we're not just looking at any one single investment, we're looking at how they're working together and how they're trying to make it efficient. You hear me keep using this word efficient over and over. Again, that's kind of the basis behind this theory is. And so as we examine and as we put together portfolios, one, it has to meet your comfort zone. It has to meet what your field, where you can handle from a downside perspective. Everybody is different and that is okay, but it's important that it matches up with you. Then, does it match up with what your goals are? What are you trying to have with this money? Where do you want it to go? How long do you want it to last? What do you want it to do? And then when we put these strategies into place, how is this strategy then going to overlay all of this when we look at income, investments, taxes, estate, legacy, insurance, all this other stuff? How does it overlay with that? Again, so it's the most efficient as possible, not even just from an investment perspective, but with all these other things that are out there. So as you start to look at your portfolio, and maybe you have over the years, there's going to be some good years and some bad years in there. The good years, we all love, right? That's great. We all want to make money, but those bad years, that's where you want to focus in on this theory and start to look at this. Do you have the most efficient portfolio that you possibly can have? Are you taking the least amount of downside with a given set of investments to have the highest probability of success? How do we figure that out? Again, through analytics and starting to look at this and get behind the scenes of what you have and what is it doing for you? Why is it in there? What is it costing you? All these various things that are vital to know. And if you don't know and you're unsure, boy, now is a great time to start to figure that out before it turns down again or before there's a bigger issue out there for you. So we'd love to have a conversation with you. No obligation, no cost visit at any of our office here is across northern Michigan, Traverse City, Gaylor, Petoskey, and Cadillac. And we appreciate you tuning in and watch us on YouTube. At any time, you can go on our YouTube channel, click on subscribe, and then that way you get notified as we post new videos, not just with the television here, but we also do these little short clips on specific topics that you may find interesting at your convenience and watch them at any time.